Yeah, we do.
Space. The final frontier. To boldly go where no man has gone before. I remember.
That was it.
Really good food, yeah.
Hell yeah. Captain's log. Stardate 45047.2. The Enterprise is en route to an uninhabited planet in the El system. The location is midway between Federation space and the territory occupied by an enigmatic race known as the Children of Tama.
Picard, Riker, Troi, Data, and Worf. The Enterprise is at work. A schematic of a Temarrian spacecraft is displayed at Data's end of the table.
The Temarrians apparently arrived at El nearly 3 weeks ago. They've been transmitting a subspace signal toward Federation space ever since.
The signal is a mathematical progression. It does not carry a specific message.
But they want us to know we're here.
Apparently so. Starfleet believes their presence is an attempt to start a dialogue. Commander.
Data indicates the graphic display. The ship is formidable looking, covered with alien lettering.
Federation vessels have encountered Temarrian ships 7 times over the past 100 years. Each meeting was without incident, but formal relations were never established because communication was not possible.
Why?
The Children of Tama were called incomprehensible by Captain Silvestri of the Shikumaru. Other accounts are comparable.
A cause for concern. For all we know, they are threatening our border.
Everything in the previous encounter suggests a peaceable race. We have to start from there.
Agreed. I appreciate your prudence, Lieutenant Worf, but as usual, you're wrong. Given the evidence, Starfleet has arrived at a reasonable conclusion. The Temarrians have extended a hand. We must do the same.
A beat, as Worf lets it go for now. Riker turns to the graphic display. The Children of Tama. I've heard rumors about them for years.
As have I, number one.
Picard glances at the graphic of a Temarrian ship.
Are they truly incomprehensible? In my experience, communication is a function of patience and imagination. I'd like to think we have both qualities in sufficient measure.
A beat on the mysterious, powerful-looking vessel. The Enterprise, in a Temarrian starship as formidable as the graphics, slightly more robust than our own craft. The ships are facing each other in orbit above a reddish planet. Captain Dathan, flanked by his first officer and 2 other officers, their uniforms are rich with insignia, and each wears a small ceremonial dagger across his or her chest, but all look the very embodiment of well-meaning. Rai and Jari and Lunga, Rai of Luwani, Luwani under 2 moons, Jarai of Ubuya, Ubuya of crossed roads, and Lunga, her sky, gray. He smiles in all friendliness as if waiting for a response. Picard, Riker, Troi, and Worf, All are staring at the view screen, a stupefied expression on their faces. Data cocks his head in the android equivalent. Rai and Jiri at Lunga. A beat. Picard glances at Troi.
Counselor?
I'm picking up nothing but good intentions, Captain.
Data?
The Temarrian seems to be stating the proper names of individuals and locations.
But what does it all mean?
I'm at a loss, sir.
Picard faces the alien on the view screen.
Oh. Captain, I invite you to consider the creation of a mutual non-aggression pact between our two peoples, possibly leading to a trade agreement and cultural interchange. Does this sound like a reasonable course of action?
Now it's the Temarrians' turn to stare open-mouthed. They haven't a clue. The first officer turns to Captain Dathan. Kadir, beneath, Momotef! The other officers laugh, but the captain doesn't find it funny. The river, Tamark. The officers immediately stop their laughing, as if ordered to. 4, in winter. His officers look sheepish. Picard and Riker exchange a glance.
Impressions, number one?
They seem to be trying their best.
As are we, for what it's worth.
Captain! Picard and Riker look up at the screen, where the aliens appear to be having a spirited discussion among themselves. The first officer looks very concerned, objects. Darmok, Rai, and Jiri at Lunga. Shaka, when the walls fell. Zima at Anzo, Zima and Bakor. Darmok at Tanagra. Shaka, Mirab, his sails unfurled. Darmok! Tamark! The first officer shuts up. The river Tamark. The first officer bows his head in complete compliance. He's lost the argument. Captain Dathan reaches out, takes the first officer's ceremonial dagger. Picard watches as the alien captain turns to him, now armed with 2 daggers. Darmok and Jalad at Tanagra. A beat. Suddenly both Picard and the Temarrian captain dematerialize in a transporter beam. Block their transporters with the shields. Extend to maximum range.
Wait.
Not enough time. Where is he?
The Temarrians have transported Captain Picard to the surface with their own captain.
Riker to O'Brien?
Transport will not be possible, Commander. The Temarrian ship has created a particle scattering field in the planet's ionosphere.
Riker looks at the view screen, which goes back to an image of the Temarrian ship. A desert filled with scrub brush and rock. Picard and the Temarrian captain are facing each other, separated by 30 feet of bare ground. 2 daggers are in the alien's hands. Off Picard's expression.
What the hell is all this about?
Riker to Captain Picard. Captain, do you read me? Riker turns to Data. Can we compensate?
No, sir. The Temarrians are projecting a particle-sustaining beam into the upper atmosphere. The result is a hyper-ionization that disrupts virtually all EM and subspace carriers.
Riker thinks for a moment. That means they can't communicate with their man, either, or beam anybody through the field.
That is correct. However, they have left sensor frequencies clear.
So they can read what's going on? Analysis, Mr. Worf. What the hell is going on? A contest, perhaps, between champions. Our captain against theirs. Riker considers this for a moment. Theirs was armed. Picard and the alien captain are still 30 feet apart, facing each other. Darmok and Jalad. The Temarrian extends the dagger-like weapon he took from his first officer, offering it to Picard.
You expect me to fight? Is that it? A challenge?
Darmok and Jalad.
I don't know who or what Darmok and Jalad are, but I didn't come here to start a war.
Picard makes no move to accept the weapon. Darmok and Jalad at Tanagra.
I refuse.
Picard crosses his arms. The Temarrian stares for a beat, then tosses the weapon towards Picard, landing a couple feet away from his. Picard doesn't even look at it.
Would you attack an unarmed man, Captain? There's not much of a challenge in that.
The alien watches for a moment, scowls. The Temarrian takes his own weapon out of its chest sheath, points it at the one in front of Picard. Temba, his arms wide.
I'm sorry, Captain.
Picard picks up the weapon, tosses it back in front of the alien. They stare at each other for a few beats. The Temarrian looks frustrated. He reaches down, picks up the dagger. Shaka, when the walls fell. He moves slowly, off toward the edge of the clearing, keeping an eye on Picard all the way. Picard does the same, moving towards the opposite of the clearing. The Temarrian now ignores Picard completely and starts clearing out rocks to form a campground. Picard watches for a few beats, then starts to do the same. On the bridge, Data looks up from his instruments. Riker is standing behind him, waiting for Data's report.
Sensors show the captain and the Temarrian in apparent good health, approximately 20 meters from each other.
Everyone considers Data's words, a beat, as Riker thinks for a moment. Lieutenant, hail the Temarrian ship. Worf works the panel. On screen. The Temarrian first officer in his chair, surrounded by his senior staff, all are grim-faced. You are holding our captain. I want him released.
Darmok at Tanagra.
Your actions can be interpreted as an act of war.
Kitio, his eyes closed. Chenza at court, the court of silence. Chenza!
Is there any way to get through them?
Not without further study.
Riker stares at the view screen for a long beat. Mr. Worf, close the channel. Gladly, sir. Worf touches the console, and the view screen switches to the image of the Temarrian ship. I want you to take a security team and take a shuttle down to the planet. Bring back the captain. Aye, Commander. Worf heads for the turbolift.
Sir, the Temarrians are fully capable of stopping a shuttle.
I'm aware of that, but disrupting our transporter beam is one thing. Firing on a shuttle is something else entirely. I'm betting they're not going to push it that far. Picard, twirling a stick, as a slight tendril of smoke rises off a small pile of straw. Working the stick, he quickly drops it, blows on the straw, adding more material until he has a small fire going, which quickly sputters out. Picard scowls, looking off across the clearing. The Temarrian is staring back at him, sitting next to a roaring campfire. He smiles at Picard's failed attempt. Shaka, when the walls fell.
Shaka indeed. What now, Captain? Will you attack me in my sleep?
Picard rubs his arms against the growing chill.
If I don't freeze to death first.
Darmok of Kanza, Jalad of the Katue. Picard thinks for a moment.
Picard of the Federation.
The Temarrian looks at him blankly.
Of the Starship Enterprise. Of planet Earth.
Picard's words mean nothing to the alien. Kadir, beneath Momoteth. The Temarrian shrugs, turns away, ignoring Picard. He adds some wood to his fire, then crouches on his branches like a Bedouin. He takes 5 ornamental objects off his garments, carefully placing them on the ground. The Temarrian begins a strange ritual, alternately picking up one or more of the objects and dropping them on the ground, touching his forehead after each pattern formed by their fall. His manner is not particularly religious, more like habit or custom done without much thought. Picard watches him with curiosity. He rubs his arms unconsciously against the chill. The alien finishes his ritual, leaving the objects on the ground. He glances over at Picard, who is walking back and forth, keeping his blood going. The Temarrian turns from him, laying down in front of the fire. The Temarrian closes his eyes, attempting to sleep. A couple of beats later, his eyes open. He rolls over and looks back at Picard. Picard isn't life-threatened by the cold, but he looks increasingly uncomfortable. It's going to be a miserable night. The Temarrian sighs. With a hint of guilt, the alien sits up, pokes around the fire until he pulls out a branch, burning at one end only. The Temarrian stands with the flame-tipped wood, and in one smooth motion hurls it over and across the clearing, where it lands at Picard's feet. Temba. Picard looks down at the branch, then backs up at the Temarrian, who is watching him. Picard picks it up.
Temba, what do you mean? Fire? Timber means fire?
Temba, his arms wide.
Temba is a person. His arms are wide because he's holding them apart. In generosity? In giving? In taking?
Dathan indicates the branch. Temba, his arms wide. Picard gives up on the specific meaning for now. The gift is progress in any case.
Thank you.
Picard holds the brand to his pile of straw and it immediately ignites. He adds kindling and branches and quickly has a cheery fire. He looks towards the alien. The Temarrian appears to be fast asleep. Picard, as he watches the alien for a few moments, off the thoughtful looks of his face. The Enterprise is above the planet, head-to-head with the Temarrian spaceship. A shuttlecraft is leaving the Enterprise. First Officer's Log. Supplemental. I am sending a shuttlecraft to find Captain Picard, gambling that the Temarrians will back down rather than risk an exchange of phaser fire. But I feel like I'm playing a deadly game. The captain's life is the prize, and I still don't know the rules. In the shuttlecraft, Worf is at the controls. One security officer is in the co-pilot position. The position density is 0.013. Electron concentration is 7.95. We are 250 kilometers from the planet's surface.
The shuttle has reached the Eve region of the planet's ionosphere.
How long can we maintain communication?
The scattering layer induced by the Temarrians is concentrated in the upper D region. The shuttle will enter that area in approximately 2 minutes.
The Temarrian vessel hanging silently in front of him. The Temarrian ship?
Unchanged, sir. They appear to be making no attempt to stop us.
Riker considers this for a moment as he stares at the view screen. Maybe we called their bluff. Worf working the controls. Status, Mr. Worf. Navigational, life support, propulsion normal. Onboard systems do not appear to be disrupted by the field. But I can barely read you, Commander. Acknowledge, Lieutenant. Maintain contact as long as conditions permit.
Commander, I am reading a power surge in the Temarrian plasma reactor.
Mr. Worf, evasive maneuver. Sequence Delta. Maneuver sequence Delta. Maneuver sequence. Temarrian ship. Oh, okay. Yeah, so back on the bridge. Yeah. It's going to go on the bridge. I'm going to read this paragraph, and then you're literally going right back to the shuttle.
Yeah. All right. Wait.
A single tiny phaser beam bursts from the Temarrian ship, away from both vessels, down towards the planet. We're on the shuttle now. The shuttle gets hit by a phaser. The blast rocks the shuttle. Worf and company nearly fall from their seats.
Commander, the shuttle has been hit.
That's right.
Damage!
The starboard nacelle has been rendered inoperable.
That's all? Riker to Lieutenant Worf. The crew has recovered from the blast in the shuttle. Report! Starboard thrusters destroyed. Commander, I may be able to land. I will not be able to take off. Understood, Lieutenant. Return to the Enterprise. Aye, sir. So, enough to make them turn back, but not enough to hurt them.
Yes, sir. The phaser pulse appears to have been carefully attenuated for just that effect.
Riker looks up at the view screen. The Temarrian ship is viewable. Nice shooting. Geordi is indicating a graphic display of the planet's upper atmosphere. A glowing umbrella effect indicates the spread of Temarrian scatterfield. Graphic representations of the Enterprise and the Temarrian ship are in orbit above it.
I'm pretty sure I can punch up the annular confinement beam enough to transport the captain through the field, but it's going to take a full day at least. Captain Picard should be dead by then.
I do not believe it so. They turn at Worf in surprise. I have confidence in his ability as warrior. He will be victorious.
You're still assuming this is some sort of challenge ritual. We can't be certain of that.
Agreed. We're making educated guesses about their motivations. No more than that. Then why do we wait? If we attack the ship directly, they will be unable to maintain the scattering field, which would start a shooting match. For all we know, a war. We still might not be able to save the captain. It will end in a stalemate. There's too much at risk. I'll take that course when it's the only one left. A silent beat as Riker looks around the room, the frustration obvious in his voice. Who the hell are these people? There's got to be some way to get through to them.
As I have said, with further study, it may be possible.
Then do it! Deanna, help him. I want something by 0900 hours. The meeting's over. Riker gets up and leaves. Worf and Geordi follow him out. Off a glance between Data and Troi, they got a daunting task in front of them. Picard is curled up, asleep by the now burned out campfire. He takes a ragged breath, his eyes open. Picard sits up, takes in his surroundings, and glances across the clearing. The alien's campsite is empty. The Temarrian is nowhere to be seen. Picard stands, dusting himself off, still looking to the clearing.
Where have you gone to, my friend?
Picard stares for another beat, glances around, doesn't see anybody, makes a decision. He strides away from his campsite. Crosses the clearing, looking around at each step for the alien. Picard arrives at the campsite, pausing at the rocks that have been piled around it. Still no sign of the Temarrian. Picard looks over the campsite. Several personal objects appear to have been left. He can't resist.
Forgive the intrusion, Captain, but I need some answers.
Picard steps over the rock perimeter. He moves to the burned-out campfire and crouches down. Two of the small pieces the Temarrian worked a ritual with the previous night. Picard's hand reaches down and picks one of them up. Picard turns it over in his hand, studying it. The object is metallic and crystalline, dull like lead, rather than shining, but it has beauty nonetheless. He puts it down. Something catches his eye a few feet away. A book belonging to the alien captain, the same type of lettering of the Temarrian ship, adorns its cover. Picard reacts. Look of curiosity on his face. Data and Troi are at the table, facing a computer monitor. Oh, yep, my bad. Sorry. I was reading.
So we're back in the other thing.
We're back. Data and Troi are hanging out in his quarters, facing a computer monitor. The monitor is running a recording of the first encounter with the Temarrians, as seen on the view screen. On the view screen, Darmok at Tanagra.
Shaka! Marab! His sails unfurled!
Darmok!
Freeze.
The computer freeze frames the scene.
Darmok. It seems to be a point of contention between them. Perhaps something the Temarrian captain proposed, but his first officer didn't like? The apparent emotional dynamic does seem to support that assumption, as with the other terms used by the Temarrian. It appears to be a proper noun. The name clearly carries a meaning for them. Computer, search for the term Darmok in all linguistic databases compiled for this sector.
Searching.
They wait a moment.
Okay. Darmok is the name of a 7th Dynasty emperor on Kanda 4.
Troi and Data exchange an excited glance. A breakthrough. Then,
Wait, I didn't read the whole thing.
A mytho-historical hunter on Shanty 3, a colony on Malindi 7.
Wait,
Troy's face falls. Data gives the android equivalent. Troy's face falls. Data gives the android equivalent.
a frozen desert on Rasna 5A.
Stop search. Computer, how many entries for Darmok?
47.
A beat. Troi stares at Data for a moment and then shakes her head.
All our technology and experience, our universal translator, our years in space, contacts with more alien cultures than I can remember. I have encountered 1,754 non-human races during my tenure at Starfleet. And we still can't even say hello to these people. That is correct. A single word can lead to tragedy. A word misspoken, misunderstood.
Temarrian's on the screen.
That could happen here, Data, if you and I fail.
Troi and Data exchange a look. Data turns to the monitor.
Replay at time index 144.
The video monitor starts the replay at the same place we open the scene. Darmok, at Tanagra.
Freeze.
The image freezes.
Computer, search for the term Tanagra, all databases.
Searching. Tanagra is the name of the ruling family on Gallows 2. Oh, a ceremonial drink on Larishi 4. An island continent on Chantil 3.
3, stop. Chantil 3, computer, cross-reference the last entry with the previous search index.
Darmok is the name of a mytho-historical hunter on Chantil 3.
Troi turns to Data.
I think we've got something.
How you going? All that? Picard is standing alone in the aliens' campsite. In his hands is the book, and he's poring through it with great interest. A thin notebook of high-tech material. On its pages are a jumble of Temarrian writing, reminiscent of the lettering on the Temarrian ship. Picard's finger carefully, respectfully turned the pages. The last entry ends in the middle of the page.
A captain's log?
Darmok! It's so loud and near. Picard drops the book, startled, looking towards the source of the shout. The Temarrian, flying over the perimeter of the campsite, dagger in hand, he violently extends one hand to Picard. Darmok and Jalad at Tanagra.
I was curious. I meant no harm.
Shaka! He practically shoves the weapon into Picard's hand. Temba! His arms wide. Temba! Picard takes a step backwards, angered by the insistence.
Enough. I'm not going to fight you. You'll just have to...
A tremendous animal roar. Picard whips around at the noise. The Temarrian is not surprised. This is what he has been agitated about. Darmok and Jalad at Tanagra. A stunned look on Picard's face. Worf glances up in alarm from his post. Commander, sensors are picking up an electromagnetic disturbance approaching the captain's position. Analysis. A variable induction field, possibly a life form. How close is it to the captain? The field is erratic, but it appearing and disappearing. It seems to be moving toward him. Attacking? Worf looks at Riker. It's a reasonable assumption. Oh! Picard and the Temarrian are both facing toward the unseen source of the sound. The alien turns to Picard, gravely offering him the dagger. Temba, his arms wide.
I'll go along with that.
Picard grabs the weapon, and both turn in time to see a humanoid blur appearing on the ridge. At this point, a distortion is in the air, kicking up dust and brush. Riker, to LaForge.
LaForge, here.
How close are we on the transporter?
About 2 hours, maybe 3.
I want the captain out of there now. Geordi and Leffler share a look.
That's not likely, sir.
I don't want to hear that, Commander.
What's the resonance frequency?
0.34 over standard.
I want a resolution of 0.53 at the very least. I'll need 2 more minutes, Commander, but there's a good chance this isn't going to work.
Riker and Warwick exchange a glance. The dynamic is more like two generals discussing strategy than a superior officer and a subordinate. If it fails, I know, we'll have tipped our hand to the Temarrians. But that's a chance we got to take. Worf nods. Agreed. LaForge, proceed.
We're on it. LaForge out.
Riker to Transporter 1.
O'Brien here, Commander.
Riker, looking grim. Stand by, Mr. O'Brien. That's it. Back to the planet. Yeah. The creature is now across the clearing, an almost imperceptible ripple in the air, a low electrical coming from it. Picard indicates they should retreat. The Temarrian shrugs him off as if he knows better. Marab, his sails unfurled. Picard starts to move away from the distortion, again motioning for Dathan to follow.
Come on.
Shaka, when the walls fell. Dathan indicates the blur in the air, a beat, and it suddenly and then disappears. A silent beat. Suddenly it reappears with a much closer, cutting off the path Picard would have taken, almost as if to demonstrate his powers. There's clearly no way to outrun it. Shaka, when the walls fell.
Shaka, you said that before. When I couldn't build a fire. A failure? An inability to do something?
The Temarrian squares off to the creature, weapon ready. Picard does the same. Darmok and Jalad.
At Tanagra.
The alien looks surprised.
I remember the words, but I don't understand.
The creature threateningly. Picard and the Temarrian await its attack. Geordi and LaFleur at their consoles working furiously.
Matrix levels.
Angular convergence holding at 3349.205, confinement resolution at 0.527.
That isn't going to do it. Increase thermal input coefficients 150%.
Increasing now. Back on the bridge, Riker to Worf. Statusless Mr. LaForge. Geordi keeps working without missing a beat.
We're almost there, Commander. Shut the overload to the phase transition sequencers and Transporter 1.
Yes, sir. Leffler's fingers fly over a console.
LaForge to O'Brien.
Brian's at the controls.
Go ahead, Commander. Confirm phase sequencer linkage.
O'Brien plays with his panel.
Link confirmed. Ready whenever you are, sir.
Like
O'Brien.
Sorry. You're Picard, you're the character.
I know.
The creature roars and moves towards them, a distortion in the air. Picard and the Temarrian are standing there, and the Temarrian motions Picard away, indicating there should be more distance between them, using his hands to indicate the split. The creature is still hovering near, its blur waving in the air, the low electrical noises around it. Uzani, his army, and Lashmir. Picard stares at him in the heat of the moment, trying so hard to understand their lives depend on it.
At Lashmir. Was it like this at Lashmir? Similar to what we're facing now.
The creature loudly disappears. Silence. Picard and Dathan tense up, anticipating the creature's next location. They urgently try to connect with each other. Uzani! The Temarrian takes another step to the side, again indicating more distance between Picard and himself. His army, with fists open.
A strategy? With fists open?
Picard opens his hand.
With fist open. Why? To lure the enemy?
His army, with fist closed.
With fist closed. An army. Open to lure an enemy? Shit. Then closed to attack. That's how you communicate, isn't it? By citing example. By metaphor. Uzani's army, with fists closed.
Soka, his eyes uncovered. The creature is directly in front of them, wavering between the two, divided about which to attack. It chooses Picard, suddenly becoming visible, and lunges towards him. It is a horrifying creature, surrounded with a shimmering electrical field. Picard moves sideways, slashing out with his dagger as he goes. The dagger contacts the field, not flesh, and the creature shrieks angrily in response. The Temarrian leaps in front of the creature's blind slide, slashing it with his weapon, also contacting the field around it. Sparks fly. The creature again shrieks, whipping around to the source of attack, leaving Picard alone. Picard executes the same move the Temarrian just made, attacking from the creature's blind side, distracting it. The Temarrian attacks again, and the creature turns towards him. Picard begins to dematerialize. Picard reacts, struggling against the beam, not wanting to abandon his comrade. No! Picard semi-materializes on the pad, flickering between more and less solid states. O'Brien is at the controls.
I've got a piece of him, Commander, but that's all.
Riker is on his feet. LaForge, boost the confinement beam. 157 over standard.
It's as solid as it'll go, Commander.
The Temarrian is hurled violently into the frame. Burn marks slash across his chest, tight on the creature as it leaps upon him. Picard continues to materialize in and out. Without Picard to distract it, the creature is all over the Temarrian. He desperately tries to roll away, but nothing works. He's at complete mercy, being battered and slashed by claws and electrical charge. The Temarrian and the entity are in close proximity, and the Temarrian's life signs are fluctuating. Riker glances at the instrument panel over the shoulder of the con officer. The scattering field is still in full force. What the hell is wrong with them? Their sensors can read what's going on as well as our can. O'Brien, report. O'Brien is working the consoles as fast as he can as Picard continues to materialize, but it's only getting weaker.
The field's still deflecting the signal. There just isn't enough of him, sir.
Riker turns to Worf on the bridge. Open a channel to the Temarrian ship. Temarrian. Aye, sir. As the Temarrian bridge appears, the first officer looking frustrated and angry. Your captain is under attack. Drop your particle field. The first officer stares at Riker for a second, then turns to his tactical officer.
Kailash! When it rises!
The screen goes dead. They have closed the channel.
O'Brien to bridge!
Picard's image begins to completely dematerialize on the pad.
I can't hold him,
Damn, I thought Picard would have a lot more lines in this, but he
Yeah.
does not, actually. Yeah. Don't mind my dagger. Darmok and Jalad. Oh shit, I didn't fuck that last bit up. Picard materializes back into space, just in time to see the creature blur out. He's crackling snarl, leaving the fallen Temarrian behind. Picard runs to him, crouches down at his side. Temarrian is still conscious, but seriously injured. Burned, slash, white blood appearing at open wounds. Dathan steels himself against the pain. A heroic warrior. Shaka.
When the walls fell.
The Temarrian gives him a weak smile and slumps into unconsciousness. Picard materializes back into place, just in time to see the creature blur out and disappear in a crackling snarl, leaving the fallen Temarrian behind. Picard runs to him, crouches down at his side. The Temarrian is still conscious, but seriously injured. Burned, slashed, we did this. White blood appearing at open wounds, Dathan steels himself against the pain. A heroic warrior. Shaka. Picard nods, remembers the phrase, completes it.
When the walls fell.
The Temarrian gives him a weak smile and slumps into unconsciousness. Picard looks discernibly. The Enterprise and the Temarrian ship are facing each other. Riker. First Officer's Log, Stardate 45047.8. Our attempt to transport Captain Picard back to the ship has failed. My options are narrowing, and our patience is all but gone. Data and Troi are sitting at the table. Geordi is sitting nearby, and the door opens, and Riker and Worf, Beverly show up. And they sit down. Here's a situation at Elidrome. The entity has moved off of several hundred meters.
Captain Picard's bioscan readings are stable. The Temarrians are not.
He may have been injured.
If the entity attacks again, the captain could be facing it alone.
The transport is completely out of the question. The Temarrian ship has deepened the scattering field to the D region of the ionosphere. There's no getting through.
Unless we attack the ship itself. Can you pinpoint the source of their particle beam?
They're using a polarity coil generator located aft of their warp drive. It's heavily shielded.
Can we get through with our phasers?
Not with the first spread. It'll take a few hits.
That's not good enough. I want to be able to knock out the scattering field in one shot and have the captain back on the Enterprise before they know what happened.
All right. Okay, well, I mean, if we selectively target the amplification pathways around the generator, it should be just as effective, and we can do that in like one burst, probably.
How long to set that up?
Worf and I will have to adjust the pre-fire chambers. That'll give us the focus we need. A few hours.
Get started.
Aye, sir.
Geordi and Worf stand and leave the room. Riker turns to Troi and Data. I'd prefer to find a peaceful solution. If we can talk our way out of this, so much the better. Troi and Data exchange a glance.
Unfortunately, it's not that simple.
What have you found?
The Temarrian ego structure does not seem to allow what we normally think of as self-identity. Their ability to abstract is highly unusual. They seem to communicate through narrative imagery, by reference to the individuals and places which appear in their mytho-historical accounts. It's just as if if I were to say to you, Juliet, on her balcony.
An image of romance.
Exactly. Image is everything to the Temarrians. It embodies their emotional states, their very thought processes. It's how they communicate. It's how they think.
If we know how they think, can't we get something across to them?
No, sir. The situation is analogous to understanding the grammar of the language, but none of the vocabulary.
If I didn't know who Juliet was or what she was doing on that balcony, the image alone wouldn't mean anything.
That's correct. We know, for instance, that Darmok was a great hero, a hunter. Tanagra was an island. But that's all. Without the details, there's no understanding. It is necessary for us to learn the narratives from which the Temarrians are drawing these images. Given our current relations, that does not appear likely.
Off Riker's reaction, they're at a dead end. The Temarrian captain is on the ground, lying on his back. Picard is sitting upright on a rock a few feet away, both daggers in hand, alert and protective. Darmok and Jalad at Tanagra, his voice seemingly with finality, as though the incident with the creature made his point. He settles back.
Our situation is similar to theirs? I understand, but I need to know more. Tell me more about Darmok and Jalad. Tell me...
Picard is searching his memory.
You used words, Temba, his arms wide. When you gave me the fire and the dagger, could you give me more? Timba, his arms wide. Darmok. Give me more about Darmok.
Picard makes a give me or come on motion with his hand. Dathan smiles to hear Picard's efforts in his own language, but he understands. Darmok, on the ocean. Picard thinks out loud, trying to understand. The alien does not understand Picard, but he has a glimmer of recognition. Picard takes a tiny stone and places it in the sand in front of them.
Darmok.
Picard draws a circle around the stone.
The ocean.
He sweeps his hand to indicate the scene he has created.
Darmok on the ocean.
The Temarrian gives an appreciative chuckle.
A metaphor? For being alone? Isolated? Darmok on the ocean?
The alien laughs again. And spasms painfully, quickly covering his distress.
Are you alright?
The alien waves him off. Kazai's children, their faces wet. Picard sits down.
Temba, his arms wide. Give me more. Darmok on the ocean.
Tanagra on the ocean? Darmok at Tanagra.
At Tanagra, a country. Tanagra on the ocean, an island. Timba, his arms wide.
Jalad on the ocean, Jalad at Tanagra.
Jalad at Tanagra. He went to the same island as Darmok, to Tanagra.
The beast at Tanagra.
The beast, a creature on the island, on Tanagra. Darmok and Jalad. Did they fight the beast?
Picard suddenly thinks he understands.
They arrived separately. They struggled against a common foe. They beat at Tanagra, the beast at Tanagra, Darmok and Jalad.
Darmok and Jalad on the ocean.
They left together.
Picard indicates the two of them.
Darmok and Jalad on the ocean.
On the ocean. The alien is racked by terrible spasms of pain. Picard again moves towards him. This time the Temarrian is angered. Zinda, his face black, his eyes red. Picard backs off respectfully. The Temarrian gets the pain under control, smiles weakly as if to make up for the outburst. Kalamas at Barhar. Picard stares at him.
You hoped this would happen, didn't you? You knew there was a dangerous creature on this planet, and you knew from the tale of Darmok that danger shared can sometimes bring two people together. Darmok and Jalad at Tanagra. You and me, here, at Eladril.
The Temarrian gives a confirmatory shake of his shoulders, then fights another wave of pain. It passes. He takes a ragged breath, then appears to be waiting for something. He gives a go-ahead indication to Picard. Kara at Bashi. Picard doesn't understand quite yet. The alien mimics the "you give me" motion. Temba, his arms wide.
My turn. I'm afraid I'm not much of a storyteller, and you wouldn't understand me anyway. Shaka, when the walls fell.
The Temarrian smiles, but is disappointed. Picard picks up on it.
Perhaps it doesn't matter. You want to hear it anyway.
The Temarrian is waiting. Picard thinks for a moment, wanting to find the most fitting tale.
There is a story, a very ancient one from Earth. I'll try to remember.
He attempts to match the Temarrian's storytelling voice.
Gilgamesh was a king at Uruk. He tormented his subjects. He drove them to anger. They cried out, "Give our king a companion. Spare us his madness."
Picard glances at the Temarrian. The alien's eyes are glazed but rapt.
Enkidu, a Wilman of the forest, entered the city. They fought in the temple. They fought in the street. Gilgamesh defeated Enkidu. They became friends. Gilgamesh and Enkidu at Uruk.
At Uruk.
The new friends went into the desert, where the great bull of heaven was killing men by the hundreds. Enkidu caught it by the tail. Gilgamesh struck it with his sword.
Gilgamesh.
They were victorious, but Enkidu fell to the ground, struck down by the gods.
The alien closes his eyes. Picard looks at him. The Temarrian shudders once and is completely still.
And Gilgamesh wept bitter tears, saying, "He was my companion through adventure and hardships, and gone forever."
Picard stops speaking. The clearing is utterly silent off Picard's face. The Enterprise and the Temarrian ship are facing each other in orbit. First Officer's Log, supplemental. I have no choice but to break the stalemate. If war is the result, maybe it was inevitable. Perhaps the distance between our races is so vast that nothing else was ever possible. The turbolift opens and Worf steps into the bridge. Riker turns to him. Data and Troi are at their post. Phasers are nearly ready, sir. Worf steps into position at tactical. Stand by and fire, Mr. Worf.
Commander, the Temarrian's bioscans have become unreadable. He may be dead, sir.
Everyone reacts.
What?
If we know it, so do the Temarrians. Riker to LaForge.
LaForge, here.
I need those phasers.
Sir, sensors are tracking the entity. It is approaching Captain Picard's position.
Temarrian is laid on his back, his eyes shut. Picard is standing next to him, his manner of one of great respect. Both Temarrian daggers are stuck into Picard's waistband. He crosses the Temarrian's arms over the alien's chest, Egyptian-like. A crackling roar! In the distance, Picard glances up at the sound, then turns back to the dead alien.
I understand your sacrifice, Captain.
He places one of the daggers on the alien's chest. Another roar! There's a calmness in his voice, as if he's resigned to his fate.
Unfortunately, if our friend out there has its way, no one will ever know what you tried to do.
The roar sounds much closer. Picard turns toward the noise. The quiet, crackling burr. The creature is close. He pulls his dagger and waits calmly for the attack. The distortion crackles loudly and disappears.
9 meters in closing, Commander.
The waiting is unbearable.
6 meters. LaForge to bridge. You have phasers.
Fire! Worf hits the console. The Enterprise simultaneously fires 6 narrow-focused beams, striking the Temarrian ship at 6 different spots in her hull. Their particle beam emitters are inoperative.
The scattering field is down.
O'Brien, energize! O'Brien is working the console. O'Brien has console. Picard materializes on the pad.
We got him, Commander.
Maximum shields. Aye. The Temarrian vessel fires a phaser blast at the Enterprise, striking the hull and the right nacelle. The bridge is rocked severely. Red alert. The ship goes to red alert. Starboard shields holding at 52%. Forward shields gone. Let's get out of here.
That will not be possible, Commander. The starboard nacelle sustained a direct hit. Warp engines are offline.
Go to impulse. Back us off. They are firing. They are matching our maneuvers and firing. Again, the bridge is rocked, this time more severely. Return fire, Mr. Worf. Full phasers. Firing, sir. The Enterprise fires an intense phaser blast at the Temarrian ship. No apparent damage. Their shields are holding. They are firing again. The bridge is rocked. The worst yet. Our shields have failed.
Commander, we cannot survive another hit.
The turbolift doors open, and Picard enters the bridge, quickly moving towards his command. Riker immediately steps aside, then reacts to the dagger in Picard's hand.
Hail the Temarrian ship!
Aye, Captain. The Temarrian bridge. The first officer rises to his feet, reacts with anger at seeing a Temarrian dagger in Picard's hand.
Zinda, his face black, his eyes red.
Temark.
Dead silence on the view screen. Picard has adopted the same tone he saw used by the Temarrian captain.
The river Darmok. In winter.
The Temarrians are taken aback by Picard's words. They look at him in new light, anger suddenly evaporating into surprise.
Darmok!
And Jalad. At Tanagra. Darmok and Jalad on the ocean.
The aliens all react. The captain's plan worked. Picard understands.
So calm, his eyes open.
The aliens stare at him, all ears, waiting news of what happened on the planet.
The beast At Tanagra, Uzani, his army. Shaka, when the walls fell.
The aliens appear saddened. They lower their eyes. Each Temarrian ritualistically touches his dagger and then his forehead. The aliens again face Picard. Picard takes the small book, the captain's diary, and holds it out in his hand. The Temarrian first officer glances at one of his officers, who touches a console. The book is transported to the alien officer. He picks it up, showing it to Picard.
Picard and Dathan at El Adrel.
Picard nods. The alien sets the book down, turns back to Picard.
Murad, with sails unfurled.
Picard extends the Temarrian dagger toward the first officer, offering it back to him.
Temba, his arms open.
The alien makes a motion with his hands, as if declining Picard's offer of the weapon.
Temba, at rest.
Picard nods, and he lowers the dagger.
Thank you.
The view screen goes to a shot of Temarrian ship, moves off. Riker and the others are taken aback by Picard's performance. New friends, Captain?
I can't say, number one. But at least they're not new enemies.
Picard is at his terminal. He's engrossed. The door chimes.
Come.
I hope I'm not intruding, Captain.
No, not at all. Number one, please.
Damage reports are ready for your review.
Thank you.
Riker steps over and glances at the captain's view screen. Greek, sir?
The Homeric hymns, one of the root metaphors of our own culture.
For the next time we encounter the Temarrians?
More familiarity with our own mythology might help us relate to theirs. The Temarrian was willing to risk all of us, just for the hope of communication, for connection. And now the door's open between our peoples, and that commitment to him was worth more than his own life. Would I do the same?
Picard glances away. Riker is silently dismissed. He turns and leaves the room. The door shuts behind him. Picard looks at his desk and the Temarrian dagger lying on top of it. Picard touches it, then brings his hand up to his forehead in the Temarrian ritual honoring, and he lowers his hand.
The end.
Starring Marina Sirtis.
Thanks for watching, you guys.
Thanks.